So one thing that keeps coming up with customers lately is the difference between the Little Cloud Pelican and the Gin Spirit. So I just figured I'd take a couple minutes today to kind of go through both kites with you. So the Pelican uses the same kind of speed system with 2 pulleys. Some of the bigger differences, just in terms of actual planform or how it's made, is unlike the Spirit, the Pelican does not have any leading edge stiffeners. It does have screens over the inlets, and between that and kind of the more arched curve of the wing versus the Spirit, which is much flatter, it actually makes for some really interesting performance differences, and I felt it was worthwhile. I touched on it on actually my written Spirit review, but after taking the 12 meter out this week to get it out on snow, the differences actually became really pronounced to me, and I felt it was worth actually taking some time to go over the differences between the kites. So to start off, yeah, like I said, the inlets on the Pelican are screened, and it is considered a variable inlet system, just simply meaning that if I come in here and I open the back, I can pull these inlets out and fold them up to act it so it acts more like an open cell kite. The Spirit is, you know, kind of just your big air machine. It's got the nice stiffened leading edge. The inlets here are not screened, but the way they're built, they really gulp the air well. So you will find that the Spirit inflates a little quicker. So I'll start off by flying the Spirit. So I think what you're going to notice with the Spirit is it has a really easy inflation. The other thing you're going to notice is, the thing that I've been noticing when I'm flying it, because it's such a clean airfoil and fast, it produces a lot of power on the surge, but not because it's so flat. If you turn it quickly, you don't get quite as much power in the turn because it's so flat. As you're turning, the one side of your wing is slowing down considerably and possibly stalled. So, but I'll start out by doing a quick launch, and you'll see how easily, and again, this is with no previous inflation. I mean, these just inflate really, really easily. You can see how clean the wing is. It's very clean. It turns really fast. It can be backstalled, so if I have the trim fully powered and I pull all the way back, I can stall it. And this can be an advantage when you learn to use it, because I can pinwheel the kite pretty easily. And it will turn really quick like that. But when I'm doing that, you can see there's pretty much zero power. And in order to get more power in the turn, what I've actually found the easiest way to do that is to actually pull in a little bit of trim. Now you'll see on the turns, it'll slow down my turn, and now it's kind of flying through the turn more, right? So if I want that powered turn, I got to kind of increase the radius of the turn and just slow it down a little bit. The other thing I'll note as I bring this kite down is watch kind of how the Spirit stays inflated on the ground, and we'll compare that in a minute to the Pelican on the ground. Since this is a true full closed cell kite, when it's pressurized like this, it's going to keep its shape really well. It's going to float on the water really well. If you're in stronger winds, it becomes a little more of a handful because it is such a large wall. You'll definitely, what I would recommend is just flagging it out on a safety to land it and then walking up to the kite. All right, so taking a look at the Pelican, we'll do a launch with this one as well. So you can see, and again, it is kind of operating a little bit of an open cell mode. Winds feel a little lighter than when I was launching the Spirit, but you can see it's a little slower on the inflation. It does feel a little lighter now than when I was on the Spirit. Alright, in terms of turn rate, you can see, maybe we can measure those actually on the video. I think they're pretty close. And straight away, the biggest thing that's standing out, again, as I talked, because the Pelican has more of an arc shape to it, it really does create more power continuously. So right now, I just have a nice constant pull through that turn the entire way. There's no place in the turn where I get a cutout. Even there, with the bar all the way back, it's pulling the entire time, and it really doesn't want to ever stall out. So right there, it's a constant pull. And to me, that is the biggest difference between these two kites, and it kind of shows the design philosophy differences between the two. So Tom, when he was designing the Pelican, he had much more in mind kind of the French Alps, or the guy who wanted something with more performance than a single skin, but that was really good for climbing hills. And because of that, I can keep a nice tight loop even with this 13, and it's gonna keep me powered the entire time. So the Pelican becomes a much better machine for looping up hills than, in my opinion, than say like the Spirit, where the Spirit is hands down the better big air kite. If you're more interested in a kite that is going to be kind of an engine for backcountry use, then that's where the Pelican is going to shine. The other thing you'll notice is when I bring it down, so we'll go ahead and land the kite. You'll see that now the Spirit's probably been sitting there for 5 to 10 minutes. You can see the Pelican, even now, just after landing it, has a much more narrow frontal area, especially with some of the leading edge inlets open. And this becomes particularly important when you're in the mountains and you're trying to land on a side of a hill and you don't want your kite relaunching. And as the winds pick up, it's actually preferable to have a kite that kind of sits with less frontal area on it. You can see maybe one other thing about the Pelican: it's a little less prone to backstalling. So here, if I've got it pulled all the way down, it still wants to climb to the top. I'd have to be pretty aggressive with it, and actually going over the bar to kind of stall it out. And at that point, you know, I can do pinwheels and stuff. But for the most part, see the bars all the way back, it still wants to climb to the top. I'll show you on the Spirit how that's slightly different. Let me show you the Spirit fully powered. You can backstall it there, so you have to kind of let it go. And if you catch it, you can stall it again. So this actually can be a good point of control once you learn to get used to that. That allows you to do some cool stuff with the kite. For a beginner or someone who's not used to foil kites, you spend a lot of time back here, right? Well, if you do that, you're just going to stall it out. So you have to kind of know that the easiest way to handle that is just pull in a little depower, and now it's going to climb to the top. It's also going to give you more of the power to turn. And then the other big difference for the Pelican between the Spirit and the Pelican is just how they produce power through the power zone. So the Pelican is softer and the Spirit has a heavier surge as I'm going through the power zone. The Pelican depowers a little bit better if I need that. So what the power surge does for you on the Spirit is obviously it's better for big air. The other benefit is if you're trying to get up on your Foilboard, and I think I've got some pictures of that in some light winds, and I can compare the two kites. That initial surge with the Spirit is going to help you get up and on plane a little bit faster. The Pelican, for the same thing, because it likes to be looping, you might have to do an additional loop with it in kind of the same wind conditions. The downside for the Spirit then would be that same power surge is just not as comfortable in gustier conditions. So again, it just really depends on where you plan on doing your kiting at. If you plan on being in gustier spots, or obviously in the mountains where winds are typically gustier, that would probably be the biggest difference. So you can see it providing nice power all the way through as I keep looping it. Yeah, winds are not strong. The spike is also not as strong, so I feel like once it kicks in, I don't get a huge surge that's trying to pull me over on something like a board like this. And then let's compare that with do a quick run on the Spirit. So the things I know is I just gotta be a little more ready for the surge. So which means making sure your skis or your board is pointed more downwind. So there I've got kind of the nice I'll try to give you a better one. So again, I can kind of stall the kite out for the turn. And again, with the stronger pull, I got to be ready for it and get my wheels pointed downwind. Like when I was skiing, I did notice be a little careful if you're not aligned and ready for it. It can definitely like pull you over your skis or your board too. So here's kind of a nice slower turn, trying to keep the power in with it mostly depowered. I didn't get any great footage with this yet on the snow. I'll have to do that later. So there, it's stalled out. Now I got to be ready so I don't get pulled over my board. And maybe I'll probably keep that for the video, because I think that just says everything, right? Like, yeah, it once it sets in and starts accelerating, it's like instant power. And so if your skis are too much out of an angle, they're not pointed enough downwind, or in this case my board was too much of an angle to the wind, it just wasn't ready for it. I think it gets to the point of the difference of the kites. And it is, I mean, that's what makes this a fun kite, is because just how lifty it is and how quickly it accelerates. Like, I'm really looking forward to getting some fast runs in the snow this year. I haven't had a chance yet, but yeah, I sacrifice for you so you can see the differences between 12-meter Spirits and a little cloud Pelican. Yeah, let me know, guys, if you got any other questions. If you find these videos helpful, I'll keep making some when I get the time. So talk to you later. I hope you guys get out there, find some snow, or we're off to a really tough start here in Colorado, but hopefully here soon we can get some more riding in. So we'll talk to you later.